It's the pizza battle we've all been waiting for. Pizza Hut versus Domino's. And we've got two rebrands in the span of a week, I think. And I'm gonna break down which one is better. Who did it best? Pizza Hut or Domino's? Let's dive right in. First, let's start with Pizza Hut. Here is a look at where Pizza Hut has come since its beginnings in 1958. You've got some crazy stuff going on in here, almost some spooky looking stuff there in the 1970s, which is not surprising, I guess. But really, you look at this and you look at what Pizza Hut has done. They tried to get really weird at the end of the 90s, and they kept kind of going with this Picasso-like brush strokes type of look, which just looks horrible now in retrospect. And then they've kind of come back to their roots a little bit with getting back to the one that probably saw them at their heyday for 26 years in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And now they're coming back to that. Now, let's look at their new logo and kind of break down what's going on here. So at first glance, you can see they're keeping that little hat thing. I don't quite know what it is. I think it's reminiscent of their old buildings that kind of had that look. But now this kind of gives it sort of an Italian mafia look. And I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that hat and then just the curvatures of the lettering here, almost like those Z's and the little thing coming out of the H. It's almost like a little mustache, I guess. Is that supposed to be like an Italian mustache for the Italian mafia? I don't know. But I like this logo. I do. I actually think it is an improvement. I like the single color. We always harp here when we do rebrands at Resound, we always harp on how can you make it more simple? How can you go from complex to something that people just get and understand in in a heartbeat, right? And the fact that they went to this single red color, I think is a plus. I also do kind of like the interesting things going on with how the Z's are interacting with the hut. Overall, I think it's just more of an aesthetically pleasing logo than the Pizza Hut from years past, especially the ones with the brushstrokes. That was a disaster. But there's some weird things going on here. So if we're gonna get really granular and get into the really nitty-gritty details of this logo, the little oval in the A in pizza is driving me insane. Like, why? Why did you do that? It would have been so much easier to just kind of diagonalize that and fit it in there to where you have just more of a simple. Is this a font that you found that you just didn't know how to customize or something? That's driving me nuts. And then the negative space in the U on hut as well. It's just like it's just off. Like I need those to be kind of more uniform, like the two stems on the U. Why? Everything else is uniform. Why did you do that? Those are kind of the only two critiques. I don't mind the Z's and I don't mind them being kind of a different size. That's fine. The weird thing coming off the H probably is another thing. That's the last thing I'll say is it bothers me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's for. Again, I think it's maybe just the right edge of a mustache, I suppose, from the Italian mafia that is, I guess, running these things now. But that is kind of how I'm feeling about Pizza Hut. And I think they're maybe just hearkening back to the old style of the old architecture, which doesn't really make sense to me because this is not how Pizza Huts look anymore, sadly. This takes me back to the 90s. I grew up in the 90s and, going to Pizza Hut was a big deal with my little personal pan pizza read it slip from school. But this building, I guess they're trying to stick with this idea, this nostalgia, which it's just not gonna work. Cause look, this is what you look like now. These are your buildings. This is what you've done to your storefronts. Like, how is that going to connect? I actually think it's just gonna be more confusing, especially now for these younger generations who are starting to grow up and they're starting to make money and they're starting to have families. Why would they go here if they don't have that nostalgic thing going on for them? They didn't go to these places in the 90s. They weren't even alive back then. Now you're gonna throw that kind of nostalgic logo on a building like this, and it just doesn't really connect. There's a disconnect here, and we'll get to this in a little bit. But Pizza Hut is struggling. They're struggling financially. They're struggling to kind of find out who they are as a brand anymore. The heyday is over for them, and they're really kind of being beat out by some of these other pizza brands and probably even just other food brands. Pizza Hut just isn't interesting to people anymore. So just as a whole, I think Pizza Hut, while the logo itself I think is a decent logo, there's deeper lying problems here that a rebrand is just not going to fix. Because when you rebrand out of desperation, which I think this is what's going on, when you rebrand out of desperation, it's just not going to be great. And I think the consumers can see through that, and they're not going to say, "Ooh, new logo, let's go to Pizza Hut." No, it's not good. You can't be doing that. You can't be rebranding out of desperation to try to salvage something that's just kind of on the downward trend. So yeah, let's move on to Domino's. Let's look at Domino's. Let's see if Domino's did it any better, right? Because maybe it was just 2 L's here, but let's look. So Dominick's used to be called Dominick's, then it was Domino's. Domino's has gone through quite the transformation here. They've been sticking with the domino icon now for quite some time. And let's look and see what they've done. Oh, it's unprecedented. Wow, what a change. No, this is another big brand that didn't stray too far from who they were visually. But there is a trend happening right now with, let's say, the Walmarts and the Amazons, where you're getting more vibrant colors. You're moving away from some of those more muted colors, and you're getting brighter and more vibrant, probably as a way to just capture eyeballs, capture attention. Domino's, actually, I was driving around right before I recorded this video. I saw a Domino's car. It was big, bright blue and red. And so, that's probably what they're going for. More delivery vehicles, more boxes, more packaging. Get that out in the world, and you want it to be vibrant, and you want it to capture attention. Now, not a lot to talk about from the visual brand here, but I think there's a lot to talk about with what Domino's is going to do with this. Now, on the surface, I actually really applaud Domino's for the simplistic nature of what they look like as a brand. They're almost like the Apple of pizza companies, right? They don't feel the need to like go full Italian with this thing. They don't feel the need to put a mafia mustache on the side of a letter in their logo. This is super simple. It's like it's the apple with the bite out of it, right? Does Apple make apples? No. Does Domino's make Domino's? No. It's a brand name, and it is a very recognizable name because it's simple, and it's reduced so much friction and confusion because it's just, when you see it, you know exactly what it is, and you think pizza. Now for here, what they've clearly done is more vibrant colors, and they've made that logo mark, or the word mark way bigger as part of that brand. Now, I think that's interesting. That's actually usually what brands are moving away from, is they want to go more simple, just to that icon and logo mark, and less of the word mark. Domino's is actually leaning more into that, which I think is interesting. So here's one of my favorite parts of this kind of refresh. I absolutely love the packaging that Domino's has rolled out with this brand refresh. This is so cool. And I'm not like I don't think I've eaten Domino's in years. So I'm not this big Domino's fan, but this is just so pleasing. You know what this looks like? This looks like Domino's said to their top graphic designer, hey, how would you make the packaging if you made the decisions here? What would you make it look like? Mock it up for us. This is so cool. I love this. These almost look like collector's items to me. And then you've got the gold and the black. This is just, this is almost like you're tiering your products now. You want simple, you can get our basic pizza, or you can go premium and you can get the gold version of our pizza. I think this is for like stuffed crust and hand tossed or something like that. But very cool. This is cool. This is like concept pizza box right here. And then just the whole family here. I love it. I think it's so cool. It's so simple. I love the vibrant colors. It just pops. the blue and the red. And again, you know exactly what it is. It's so simple, but you know exactly what it is. Even, dude, look at these. Look at these little Parmesan cheese and red peppers. That's perfect. That's actually really cool. That's brilliant. Again, these look like collector's items. Like in 50 years, it's like the Coke bottle, right? Where people started putting those on their shelves as collector's items. People are going to start putting greasy old Domino's boxes up for 50 years, and it's probably a health violation. Anyways, more from Domino's. Again, vibrant colors, everything so succinct, so connected. And then, of course, kind of this campaign that's come out of this is the and you can go watch the new jingle that they've put out. This is the first time Domino's has had a jingle. So maybe we're going to start seeing a little bit more ads or maybe more radio spots with that jingle. I don't know. But clear winner here, I think, is Domino's. Absolutely. And again, they are rebranding from a position of strength. Domino's is dominating the pizza industry right now. And they're certainly dominating Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut's on the downward trend. Domino's is on the upward swing. They're growing. Pizza Hut is failing, or flailing, I should say. And when you rebrand from a position of strength, which, you know, probably not a rebrand, but a brand refresh like this, you're saying we're going to lean into more of what makes us great. Whereas Pizza Hut is saying we're going to go back to what was good about us like 25 years ago. Domino's wins this, man. They really do. They're protecting their brand equity. They are, you know, they're making things more clear, more simple, and they're just saying, hey, we're going to continue to do what we do. We're going to lean into even more of that, even harder, and we're going to sell pizza, bro. That's what we're going to do. So I'd love to know what you guys think. You set aside your pizza biases and let me know what you think of both of these rebrands or brand refreshes in the comments. Get them in below.